Hello friends, today we're going to build this terrific potting bench. Stay tuned. I'm Christopher, the Midwest Man Mountain, and I believe that woodworking and gardening are two of the best ways to be sustainable, creative, and achieve a sense of purpose. Thank you for watching. Hello friends, Moose and I are coming to you today from my garage actually, because we're going to be putting together a great big potting bench, and when it's done it'll be about 5 feet tall and 4 feet wide and such. And that's just too much to do in my basement. So, before we begin, let's take a look at our materials. I ended up going to the store. I picked up 12 standard boards, 1 by 6 by 4, 2 by 6 8 foots, and 6 2 by 4 8 foot boards as well. My grand total was about 44 bucks. There's overkill here. I got, an extra 2 by 4 and 2 or 3 more of the single boards, but you never know. I'm probably going to make a mistake or decide to add something after the fact, so it's always good to have more on hand, isn't it, Moose? Yes, it is. Our mobile workstation today is a very old chop saw. I think my grandpa Bill got me this in 2002, maybe 2003. Doesn't cut very big pieces, but it'll serve our purposes today. And then this old Black & Decker mobile workspace. It's a good limited tools project, wouldn't you say? On this 60-inch piece that's going to be the back support, I couldn't exactly cut all the 6 inches across with my tiny blade that I had on my chop saw. So to get rid of this, using the tools that I have on hand, I'm just going to cut a 45-degree angle right here. That'll make a nice decorative look and solve this abrasive problem. So now that the 2x material is cut, we can frame out how this is going to look. Essentially, this is the back piece that's 5 feet long, and then here's the front leg that's going to be about 3 feet long. Now, I've used some scrap cutoff pieces to make sure that the 23.5-inch boards going for the depth-wise are spaced 1.5 inches from the front and the back, because ultimately the 4-foot pieces that are going to go across are going to come in like this. Same thing down there, and that board that just moved is more scrap. I've positioned the very bottom shelf about 3.5 inches from the feet, because for me, I don't want my shelf to just be on the ground, to get soiled all the time. And anyways, this is going to sink into the ground because I'm going to put it in my garden. But even if you're not putting it in dirt, yours should probably be spaced off the ground just a little bit as well. I'm going to be drilling in with 2.5-inch screws, countersinking them, putting them in from the back, and then I might fill those holes in with putty and then sand it smooth, but you don't have to do that, because for me, I'm going to paint this, and paint is the best protection you can have outside, in my opinion, honestly. Latex paint, that's the way I paint houses, so this will be a lovely color, and it'll last a good long time. Once you got those side frames assembled, we can attach these 4-foot cross braces here, and it's pretty simple. The joint looks like so. So here are the screws that we put on initially to build the side frame, and then you see how the front board butts up against it. 2 screws in the front, I have to put one here, and then one going into this board from this side here. So we got screws going everywhere. And remember, this is not going to be weight-bearing of a person. It is going to be more than strong enough to support everything that I need for my gardening potting bench needs. I went down to my workshop and cut all of the top and bottom panels to about 42 or 46 inches, depending on where they're going to be. And then I also put a 1/8 inch route on the sides. So you can sort of see the bottom here is unrounded, and the top is rounded. Now that's just an aesthetic choice for number one, and it's got a functionality second off, so I don't get splinters on my fingers every time I run my hands here, and it also encourages the water to go down in between the cracks. So now we're going to actually screw on all of these boards, end, center, and front struts, and that should smoothen them out relatively, even though a lot of these boards happen to be warped. All right, so before we move on, a couple stray thoughts. That went pretty well. The torsion in all of these boards ended up working itself out when you put the screws in, which I was very, very pleased about. I countersunk all of these holes with a countersink bit, so when the paint goes on, you're barely going to notice them, which is nice. And it's Shelter Dog approved. Zooming in just a little bit more, we're going to put some shelves up now. We're going to have a middle shelf here, a top shelf, and then a top shelf on this side as well. I cut this centerpiece from some extra scrap that I had. And these are going to be mounted with the spare scrap 2x4s. So just imagine this up here, and then we've got the under bracket here, and that's going to be fine. I'm just going to have some little pots here, or some, gardening tools, or who knows what else. But again, not terribly load bearing. It should do fine. All right, now we're almost done with the actual building portion of this potting bench, but once upon a time, I think it was probably 2, maybe even 3 summers ago already, I was walking around my neighborhood and somebody was throwing out this old lattice fence. And I think I can cut it to fit behind here, cut it off like so, and it'll serve as kind of a nice backboard for any sort of pots or whatnot that's on here, and it'll encourage some vines to grow out, but if need be, but it should be a nice touch. And I have to mention that ever since I watched Steve Ramsey's video on his planter that had a trellis like this, I always wanted to use this in something I built, so it's about time. All right, fast forward to another day and we are ready to paint. I went ahead and laid down some plastic on the ground because I'm painting in my garage and I don't want to get my floor wet. Also covered in paint, to be honest. This is broomed off, so there's no extra dust or anything else that might be on here, and we are ready and set to go. And as you can see, I'm in my painting clothes, and what else can you do? Woodworking videos and see such excellent calves. Right? 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 Yes! And there you have it. I'm really pleased that I've finally built a potting bench for my garden and put it right in the middle of the garden. That way I can, get my tools or my supplements or my soil amenities or my compost, which I'll probably put underneath here, or some pots or anything else, and I'll have it handy. I can also put my water bottle, there we go, water bottle and snacks and anything like that on here as I'm playing in the garden. I can put my great big bushel that I collect my vegetables in, put it right here, collect them. It's going to be very handy. So do you have a potting bench, or what do you use in a similar fashion in your garden? Be sure to let me know in the comment section below. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video. While you're here, I hope you'll subscribe. There's lots of videos like this. Patreon page if you'd like to contribute to what you see directly. Until next time, bye!